A big welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to give you the most definitive guide on how to get the most out of your long irons with a little bit more loft. And now all of a sudden when I hit it, you can immediately see the spin rate jumps up, the launch angle jumps up, and I get more flight. I'm going to tell you the truths that nobody is sharing with you and why these golf clubs are the nemesis of many, many players. So when we hit long irons, what is the issue? Well, first of all, first issue might be that we tend to hit them a little bit offline. You might have yourself a cheeky little slice. Or the other issue that you might have is that when you do hit the golf ball with the long iron, you don't tend to have too much flight. So those two shots, they've both gone to the right. The second one was a little bit lower. When we're looking down on a golf club that has not got that much loft, we now have, well, we're now caught, should I say, between the devil and the deep blue sea. If I want to hit down and to create the right strike on the golf ball, when I do that, I do get the strike, nice purchase, but I don't get the flight. And of course, I'm sure you'll all agree that 7.8 down, that's a little bit too much. But we take 3 degrees of attack angle away, we take 3 degrees, or we add on 3 degrees of launch angle. At 7.8 degrees of launch angle, that's not a lot. Spin rate is pretty low too. So what are the tricks to playing long irons? Now today, you'll see that I've got a few more boxes up on the screen. I'm uneasy about that. The reason why I'm uneasy about that, because I believe that golfers start to get lost in the information and all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, Stuart's going crazy. I've now got 7 boxes up on the screen. He's always talked to me about 4. Now he's got more. But in an effort to give you a clearer, definitive guide on these long irons, I needed to bring more detail to the fore, which will give you some comforting news that long irons are a difficult golf club for everybody. First things first, club head speed will make long irons easier for you. Club speed creates more velocity with the golf ball, more speed with the golf ball, and when you've got more speed with the golf ball, you have way bigger window of performance. Of course, you can hit it more offline, but when you have more speed, you can create more launch. Because of course, if I swing the golf club slowly, all of a sudden, even though I could produce a nice angle of attack numbers, nice path numbers, I deliver the club in a decent way. At 65 miles an hour, you can see the launch angle and the flight is seriously low for a 4-iron. That's part and parcel because these golf clubs do not tend to want to give a golfer launch anymore. We've talked about it extensively on the Precision Golf YouTube channel. Do go over and check those guys out. I'm part of that channel. We do a Monday live on 6 p.m. It's really, really informative, and you might get a little bit of my shocking humor along the way as well, and some choice dress sense from Simon. But the equipment has lent itself to making golfers have to work really hard with the long iron. And that's why we've had this inception of hybrids, obviously a good number of years ago. So what can we do to make our longer irons work a little bit better for us? First of all, we've got to understand if we want to make the ball launch more, we need more loft on the golf club. And there's a few ways of doing that. Now, I've always advocated on my channel a strong hold. A strong hold with the left hand creates more of a crease in this left wrist. Now, if you're a person that has always tried to turn the face down and swung from the inside, you are presenting a club from the inside, which points the face to the right. You've then got to square that face up, which is why the lion's share of golfers will tend to have too little dynamic loft at strike. So I'm going to hit myself a full 4-iron not flat out, but close to. See if I can make a half decent swing at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that was pretty good. So a decent swing for me, 2 degrees down, 2.5 degrees from the inside, a degree shut to path, a launch angle of 12 degrees. Not too bad, not too bad. 3,300 spin rate, that's going to have some hustle on it. So it's certainly on the lower spin side, it's certainly on the lower launch side. Now watch what happens when I make my grip weaker, dare I say it, but we're talking about an iron that is bucking the trend of everything else in the bag. Once you get up to from 6 iron above, so we're talking about 5 iron and 4 iron, no one's really using 3 irons anymore because 3 irons are really 2 irons. This 4 iron is really a 3 iron. So everyone is tending to only have a couple of long irons in their bag, 5 irons and 4 irons now. So we're only talking about 2 clubs here. So I'm now going to weaken off my grip, which will all of a sudden make my club face have more loft on it, bit more spin rate, bit more launch angle should now come at us. So my left hand is weaker, my right hand is weaker. I'm now going to swing the golf club back with a little bit more loft. And now all of a sudden when I hit it, you can immediately see the spin rate jumps up, the launch angle jumps up, and I get more flight. Of course, I now become a bit more biased to the right. Let's have another go at that. So I'm going to grip my club a little bit weaker. I'm going to feel like I've got a little bit more loft on the way back. I'm going to point the club face a little bit more at me on the way back, which will then add a bit more loft. Oh gosh, that was a bad one. It's a bit to the right. So we're now up at 5,000 spin rate. We're now up at 16 degrees of launch angle. Now you can see I've got to work hard at getting that face back to straight. Did it on that one. So all of a sudden, because of the way I've held the club, I've started to get more flight on the golf ball, created a little bit more loft, which made the golf ball have some more flight. Now that works for a longer iron. So if you're looking to get more flighted irons with the 5 iron and the 4 iron, a weaker hold will immediately do that for you. I know it's going against the tide, but as golfers, we need to be flexible. We need to be flexible in our approach to getting the most out of this golf ball to maximize our scores. But that being said, I don't believe that if you're hitting your 4 iron and 5 iron better, you're going to be a better scoring golfer for it. What we're talking about is not losing a golf ball. When was the last time you stood in the middle of the fairway, hit a 4 or 5 iron and ripped the flag out, knocked it in for a putt? If you've got a 4 iron or 5 iron in your hand, you're playing a long hole for you. You get a shot there, probably, so therefore I don't believe that you should be concentrating too heavily on long irons. But that being said, I would like to give you some insights into how you can make those play better. So a weaker hold will, for sure, make you have more opportunity to create more spin, create more launch, and therefore make the golf shot a little bit prettier for you. Because the more loft that you create through the weaker hold, when you come to hit down on the golf ball, you will be arriving with more loft just by virtue of having a weaker grip. That's number one. Number two, if you don't want to go down that route, which again, try it. See how you feel about it. You might become a bit more right bias again. The second one is that we really need to feel, if we've got the hold as I would always apply, we really need to start to feel how much of that cup through strike that we can create. Now, as you create previously an inside-out path, let's say, because again, lion's share of golfers will try to do that. As the club moves more inside out, the handle goes forwards, the face becomes more open. Then what happens, the golfer is trying to square the face up, and when they do that, you arrive with less loft. So, by feeling that down into strike here, you've got more cup in that wrist, which will give you more loft in the golf club. As you start to unload the club, because of the cup you've got in the wrist, you'll arrive with a more lofted golf club rather than a toe down golf club. So through strike, I'm really starting to feel how I'm almost trying to open the face back up through strike here to create a bit more loft. So I really try to feel like my cup increased through strike. And again, now I produced a little bit more spin rate again, got back up to 4,300, launch at 14 degrees. So I was able to create some better dynamics through strike. If I then go back to feeling like a bit of a flatter left wrist through strike, tucking the arm in, flattening the left wrist, you can see as a set of ingredients, it's really going to produce very little loft. So as I come back in, I'm going to tuck the arm, I'm going to flatten out the left wrist, and then all of a sudden you can see how the launch angle is a little on the low side at 4.4 degrees. The spin rate's down at 2,400. And we're not going to have too much flight. Sure, I've drawn the golf ball, but it's as useful as a chocolate teacup. So understanding that the dynamic loft that we're producing on this golf club is really, really important with a long iron. And how you control that dynamic loft will be in conjunction with where the face points. So the more a golfer's handle pushes out to the right, the more the face opens, the more you then have to turn the wrist down. Bowing of the left wrist, which is why this becomes so prevalent in golf coaching out there. The more I drag the handle back, now look where the face points, I now push the handle down and cut the left wrist. Now all of a sudden I get the face back to straight. So as I'm coming through strike, or a little drill that you could even do, set yourself up, take your right hand off the club, push the handle out in front of you and bow your left wrist. Then pull the handle back, keeping the bow there, and you'll see how the face turns down. This time, pull the handle towards you, move it to your left leg, bring the club head back to the ball, and you'll see how the face all starts to line back up. And that sensation there with the handle moving towards you, the cupping of the left wrist, those two feelings added together through strike will start to make you feel like you can get some more flight on the golf ball, a little bit more spin rate, and some straighter shots. Long irons are tricky. Long irons are tricky. You have to be really, really aware of where the loft is pointing through strike in conjunction with the striking down, because as we strike more down, the loft comes off, as we know. So striking down with a long iron, with little loft. If you've then flattened out your wrist or turned the face down to remedy your slice, you're taking more loft off. And all of those things are just adding to very little ball flight, very little energy. So hopefully I've given you a few insights there into what you need to look out for when you're trying to hit these longer irons, and the kind of application that will work for the better to create some more consistent shots. I think you'll find that's good coaching. See you next time.